Let's get it out of your system now. Oh, too late. Well, welcome to another edition of Beyond the Binder. I'm Jason Emanis with Adam Tuttle, and we are joined by Bashar Wali, founder and CEO of Practice Hospitality, and Mandy Murray, former boutique hotel owner and advisor to independent hotels. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
This is exciting.
Yes.
We're being polite. I'm trying.
Not for long, everyone. Not for long.
Jason, you should have done the disclaimer. Hide your kids. The opinions expressed in this podcast are not those of
Not affiliated.
Well, we have no law department at IPI yet, so
perfect.
I think we're
Keep
okay.
them away.
We're okay today.
Yeah, we're all right.
Good.
And head of HR is Adam's wife, so
There it is. Makes it a lot easier.
Well, today we're going to talk about efficiency. Hospitality loves efficiency, faster service, tighter processes, greater consistency. And so we're going to talk with these fine folks about where it harms hospitality. Everyone's so, past few years, just so caught up with technology. And maybe it's getting in the way. So I'll just kick us off with this doozy. Why don't we start with Mandy? So from your perspective, what are best practices should hotels maybe abandon?
I think we should abandon scripts, and I think we should abandon surveys. I hate a survey after a hotel. So those have to go away. Goodbye. Don't want to answer it. If I had a problem, I should have told you when I was at the hotel, and I should have fixed it. And a guest or a hotel staff member should have already found out that there was an issue. There should be no survey. Goodbye to surveys.
I love that.
Yeah, why do you think hoteliers are in love with surveys?
Because it's a checklist item and it's something that everybody does, so they have to do it. Because we all follow each other and say, oh, well, they're doing it, we should do that. If they're getting survey results, because we're all honest on a survey, right?
Mm-hmm.
No. I don't even have time for a survey. So if you send me one, I'm never going to do it. I'm never going to do a Google review. I don't have the time. So why are we wasting their time when it should be their vacation or whatever they're there for? It's time is money for everybody. It's all the one thing we don't get back.
Yes.
What do you think, Bashar?
I mean, I subscribe to the no script. We'll start with that one. I've always said it doesn't matter what you say to me. Your job is to make me feel welcome, and how you do it should be up to you. And if you believe today that luxury is sort of the future, and luxury in the new term, in the new definition of luxury, not in that ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen, although I am referencing the gentleman who came up with that statement, Horst Schulte, who I've recently had the honor of spending some time with, who said, listen, you can't do luxury without a tight box. It can't be loose. I can't tell Adam, who's the waiter, to go be nice to people and have Adam go sit at the table at Mandy's table and talk to them to make them feel welcome, because that goes in the face of what luxury is. So I think scripts for the purpose of creating a robotic environment don't work, but I think there has to be, I love Fritz Van Paschen, the ex-CEO of Starwood, put it best. I use this term all the time. You have to give people flexibility within a framework. It can't be a free-for-all, right? So I think scripts is too strong a word. I think you need a system in place. I used to say you need a culture that celebrates people who go out of their way to make people feel a certain way. And unfortunately, as the workforce changes, as we generationally change, you can't make that assumption on everyone going forward, and you have to have a framework for what that is. So that's the part on script. I hate script, but if you can manage to create a framework that comes across, and I'll say the A word here, authentically, and please don't vomit in your mouth because it doesn't mean anything, then I think you've accomplished the goal. The survey, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it enough. I don't fill out surveys, but many people do. And I think people like Mandy, you and I probably don't, but many people actually do. And the question is, and I was just on a completely unrelated matter talking about surveys, and I say the only question that matters to me in a survey is, would you recommend this place to a friend? That's it. So if I can literally ask you that question and click yes or no, I'm likely to respond. And now if I say no to you, I'm not going to tell you why. Now the burden is on you to figure out why. But I agree with Mandy. I want to do a pre-checkout survey, not a post-checkout survey. Because once you leave, what can I do? If I have you captive in my hotel, I could do something about it. Once you leave, I can't. Now, again, we're making very general statements. Some people will love to fill out surveys. And I tell people, don't go to a hotel's TripAdvisor and look at all the great comments they get. I want you to find the bad one and see how they handled it, because that tells you so much more about them than the glowing reviews.
Every time. I love this. And Bashar, I love how you articulated the framework, because I have like a really strong kind of phrase that I like to live by, which is, competence builds confidence, which is saying, look, when we know what we're doing, we know what being nice looks like, sounds like, feels like within these parameters, within this experience, right? I was just talking today with another person, and it's like, look, I used to, not really, but let's say you hire someone and they used to work at Nordstrom's. Now they got to go work at Macy's. Okay, what does nice look like here? And how is it different than what it looked like there? What's the difference between these two? And how do I make sure that I know what that is? I can be competent in what the structure of nice and friendly and good service should be. And then once I have that competence, now I can go be confident, which maybe is I like better than authentic. I can be confident in the way I interact with you. I can be, genuine in expressing the way that I want to interact with you. That's a genuine sense of my character, of my personality. But we're able to pull it out of saying, hey, this is how I want to interact with you. Again, within the confines of competency.
Sure.
Yes, we're doing this right. And here's the touch of me. Right.
That's a great example. That's a great example. You use the Nordstrom Macy's. Nordstrom's will not hand you something over the counter. They will walk around to kind of be a human scale, human level with you. Macy's doesn't do that. But I bet you Macy's thinks that they're providing great service by handing it to you over the counter. So it's a question of what is your North Star? What do you want to do? And what level do you want to go to? Now, by the way, walking around the counter doesn't cost you any more or any less. Right. But it's such a simple yet meaningful gesture. So I think sometimes we get caught up, back to Mandy's point, with scripts rather than, I tell people, I want to be deaf and blind and still feel the warmth of your hospitality. So it's not about what you say necessarily, and it's not about the design, and all those things in totality are important. I think the word I use often is genuine. If you are genuine with me, I could be deaf and blind and still feel the warmth of your, it's a human. And again, I'm going to go woo on you here with the energy. It really is about the energy. And I don't know how you script that. You can't script energy. But to your point, I think first, competency, and second, this idea of drinking the Kool-Aid. If I work at Nordstrom, I should drink the Nordstrom Kool-Aid and believe, because then it is incumbent upon me to deliver that service that Nordstrom lives by and swears by and is known for.
100%. Yeah, it comes back down to the statement, I think, that it's never really about the transaction, but the interaction, right? Like, how do we really create the right interaction here? And I don't know. I also love the hot take, Mandy, on surveys, because I, as a hotelier, right, and you were like, oh gosh, how's a survey going to do? And I know so many hotels whose leaders, that's what their budgets or their bonuses are based off of, is these survey results. And then I think what ends up happening is, rather than truly addressing the reality of the guest, it's, I need to turn this around because I want my bonus, not because I really want to make sure this guest has a good experience or we can fix things. And so we're more concerned about the post-stay experience than we are about the experience happening right now. If we were really more focused about it, if we said in our industry, there are no more surveys, you have to get your feedback on the floor, how much more present would managers be? Would they be?
But this is a circular conversation, because you're talking about efficiency. Remember, efficiency by and large has been focused on removing interactions with humans, right?
Yeah.
Check in on the app, open the door with your app. You may not have the chance to check on someone's stay. So we have to sort of address both of those, this idea of efficiency. What does efficiency mean? Because efficiency has erroneously meant to many the removal of humans to cut payroll, right? That's how they view efficiency. But if you do that in the confines of a hotel, different than an airline, by the way, remember, airlines are notorious for it, and they've done a masterful job at, I used to walk up to the counter and be 30 people behind the counter working. Now there's 2. But the airlines still have you captive in that aluminum tube in the sky where they can interact with you. Hotels don't have that opportunity. So if I'm checking into my app, I'm bypassing the desk, I take the elevator, I go to my room, I come back out and I leave, whatever experience I've had, you have no chance to interact with me anymore. So that's where surveys plus efficiency may have a place, but I think it's a much bigger conversation. And it's certainly dependent on chain scale and expectations. Are you a commodity, a bed and a shower, or are you an experience?
I agree with that. I would say 100% it's about the experience of the hotel and what style of hotel are you, because it does lend itself to say, check in, go to my room, I never interact with a human. And there's a lot of travelers out there that you will never interact with a human, but there are a lot of travelers where you're interacting. And I think you have to curate, especially in like a small India hotel, you have to curate that experience. And I know that I'm training all of my hotels to touch at every level, whether it's housekeeping or, the restaurant, food and beverage people, the front desk staff, the concierge. Like there has to be an element of human touch, because as we continue, especially if we want to talk luxury in the state that it is today, if we continue and say we want to deliver, we have to have high touch in the high tech world.
Yeah. Agreed.
And part of this back to competence also, like I'll give you an example. I'm in a hotel, luxury hotel. I'm not checking out. I'm out for the day. I go to get my car. And I mentioned to the valet intentionally, hey, I hate pancake pillows. My room has pancake pillows in it, those tiny, thin, nothing pancake pillows. And of course, that guy could have said, sure, talk to the desk when you come back, make a request, go on the app. He said nothing. He goes, I'm sorry, sir. I come back to my room at the end of the day. There's 12 pillows in the room of every kind and size, because that valet took it upon himself to go and take action. Mm-hmm. So competency, right? So in that example, nothing could have happened. I would have checked out. I would have been mad. I would have written a bad review, and they would have had to deal with it or sent me a survey or whatever. But again, to Mandy's point, if we can figure out how to touch the guest at every point by everyone, again, it's super complicated. It's not that easy. The workforce issues. Sometimes when we have these conversations, people are like, you live in La La Land. Do you actually operate hotels? Yes, I do. And I know your pain. And it's more about creating, again, an environment that celebrates the valet who does that, rather than sending you to someone else or telling you to go on the app. So I think Mandy's right in that we kind of limit those transactions to stopping at the front desk. But I may not stop at the front desk. And if I have the pillow problem, I want the houseman that I run across in the hallway to own it and take care of it.
Yeah. Mandy, you talked about a system. Bashar, you're talking about a culture, a framework. How does that actually all come together?
You call Mandy or I and pay us a lot of money, and we'll tell you. How does it go? Type the word whatever in the chat, and I'll send you the email. That again, let's face reality. Labor market is the worst we've ever seen. Right? You're unable to hire anyone. The wages are creeping at a level that we've never seen before, not in keeping with how revenues are growing. We are trying to survive, not get fat, rich, and happy, right? In terms of NO, in terms of margins. So the industry is really at an interesting turning point, an inflection point, where it's becoming harder and harder and harder to do what we do in the West, largely, like tough labor markets, expensive, et cetera, immigration issues. We can go on and on about why this is happening. And I don't know the fix to it. It's a much bigger issue than me or all of us collectively. And by the way, it's across the Western world. I've traveled recently extensively, and the consistent theme across everywhere, across every sector, is bad service. Let me rephrase that. Not bad service, absent service. You can't find anyone. When you find them, they're okay, but you can't find them. So how do you accomplish that really becomes an issue. I love this new terminology that I use now for a guest, is I say, don't tell me where to stay. Tell me why I should care. Like, why should I care about this fancy hotel? There's lots of fancy hotels. And if you apply that same terminology to an employee, don't tell me where to work. Tell me why I should care. What are you as an employer doing beyond just paying well, which is a market thing, benefits, which is a market thing? The market dictates those terms. How are you attracting talent who's now, again, generationally wants a reason to care? They want to go to a place that represents their values. And I'm not talking about political or religious or environmental. It's a much broader than all of that. But why should I choose you as an employer over the next employer who gives just as much benefits and just as much money? And I think that's the part that we're missing, is this: we throw the word culture around and we only do it as when it comes to guests, but we don't think about it when it comes to employees. People want a reason to come work for you, and you can't
this
just
a-
give money to benefits.
Is this a post-pandemic phenomenon? Like
The labor shortage?
No, culturally, people who want to work in hospitality.
I don't think it's a post-pandemic. I think it's a generational, sort of Gen Z particularly.
Oh.
I think we X and millennials to a certain extent, and certainly boomers, kind of nothing changed much. It was really sort of small changes. I think being prosperous and Gen Z growing up in a prosperous economy has given them the freedom to really dig deeper and say, well, yeah, I don't want to just work to work. I don't want to just go work my butt off, buy a house, and die in the suburb with 2.5 children, a golden retriever, and a Volvo station wagon. They're thinking about life and success differently and what it means to them. And they're not choosing to just go follow the same path. They're like, screw it, I'm going to Spain for a year. I'm doing this. I don't care about owning a house. I don't care what degree I have. I want to go do not for profit. Like, I think it's changing a lot, and we're not catching up with what's happening because we only know how to do it one way. Back to what Mandy says, everybody does it this way. Let's all follow lead. And we're like lemmings, those little rodents that follow each other to their death because somebody jumps off the cliff, everybody jumps off the cliff. I think that's what's happening to us. And we really need to rethink what we're doing and how we're thinking about it.
It's so true. Oh, go ahead, Mandy.
I was just going to say, people are valuing their time differently, I think, with the generational, right? So they're saying, you know what, I need this day for me, or I need to do this, and I care about this, so I'm going to spend my day doing something passionate over here. So I'm only going to give you 20 hours, 30 hours, 40 hours, and I'm not willing to do any more. And so we have to kind of wrap our heads around and say, okay, how do we do this? Is it more staff members that are doing less time? Like there's so many ways to look at it, but really I think it comes back to this value of time.
And the gig economy, not a post-pandemic, but a sort of technologically enabled. I mean, think about it. Like, I had a kid in the summer who worked at Whole Foods fulfilling orders. He literally just worked for Amazon, essentially. He decided when he wants to go to work, click a button, he's at work. When he's done, he clicks a button, he leaves. He chooses his shifts. So one of the things we're thinking about right now as an industry, if I go to hire you, Adam, and you're not dying to have a career in hospitality, I feel like I'm disappointed in you. Like, how could you not want a career in this? So we've always painted everyone in the same paintbrush. And I think we've sort of distilled it down to, I think there's three kinds of people that we hire. Somebody who wants a career in this, who are willing to do whatever. They want to learn. They're like a sponge. Put me here, put me there. I want to really learn and grow with this. And that's fine and great. But then there's the guy who says, listen, I just want to show up to work, punch the clock, 9 to 5, do my thing, go home and not think about you ever again. And then there's the other that what Mandy is talking about, who wants flexibility, the DJ, the actress, the model, who wants flexibility. But we somehow decided the shifts are 7 to 3 and 3 to 11 and 11 to 7, and it's very rigid. And we still, for all I know, do schedules on a piece of paper and pin them on a board. I think we're not thinking about how the workforce is changing and their desires are changing, and we're not reacting fast enough. And that's why, back to your question, Jason, about post-pandemic, what we saw is a departure from hospitality to the more flexible places. I used Amazon as an example. Remember, hospitality by definition is not a high-paying job. It's crazy hours. It's 24/7, 365. So I say to myself, well, I'll go work for Amazon. I'll go do, DoorDash. I'll go do whatever. If my goal is to make money, hospitality isn't the ideal place because of the neurotic nature of it that we've let it be, versus someone who wants that industry as a career, and that's one small segment. Those people are willing to sacrifice because they have a greater goal. But again, we treat everyone the same way and we think they're all the same, and they're just not the same.
And I think that comes down to this question of, I think, our pursuit of efficiency, of us trying to standardize everything or make everything the most efficient possible, is actually at times being counterintuitive to what we're trying to accomplish in our labor management or our labor attractiveness. I mean, it goes back to I actually just led a keynote on generations in the workplace, and understanding that Gen Z has surpassed boomers now in the percentage of the workforce, right? So there are more Gen Z in the workplace than there are boomers. Millennials still are the larger of that, but at 18% of the workforce, you have a generation that is very much more focused on what their culture is. How am I treated at work? What is the ethics of my business? You know, does my company do this X, Y, and Z? How do they treat me? How do they treat others? And I think what it comes down to is, as an organization, you can't get by anymore, especially in this day and age, without a defined sense of culture. I think that if you want to move forward, you have to say, this is who we are, and then you have to build practices around that actually prove, you know, your money's where your mouth is. And so the workforce can come in and say, no, I do want to align myself with this. I do want to represent this hotel's values because it aligns with my values. And it does then become a little bit broader, more than just about the money. It's always nice to get paid, but at the same time, am I working for a place that gets me, right? That gives me what I need and what I want.
The problem with our industry, however, is, as you know, controlled by middle-aged white dudes in blue suits who think culture is a poster you put up on the wall.
Correct.
And sadly, it is not, and they will not accept the fact that it is not. And I think until you start truly understanding what you're talking about, the generational differences, and how, again, I could care less about buying a house and establishing roots. I want, like Mandy said, I want my freedom. I want to go do things for me, right? I think it is literally, sadly, by and large, a poster on a wall in a break room. Culture, to me, our society hates the word cult because cult has a negative connotation to it. But if you think about the negative cults, for example, the cult leader, when the Kool-Aid is being served to the death, he's the first one drinking the Kool-Aid. So a lot of those people that are preaching culture in these marble mansions, they're in these offices that are pushing it down on a poster to a break room, they don't know what culture is if it hit them in the face. So unless you live it and practice it, you can't preach it. You cannot preach it unless you live it and practice it yourself. And you look at what happens when a lot of those, like I think back to the days when I was, on the floor in a hotel and the corporate teams come. It was like a foreign dignitaries coming in. Like those were not your people. You did not connect with them. So I think really understanding the nuance of what culture means. And culture to me means, A, you've got to serve me the Kool-Aid that you've made, that you are willing to drink before me. And then you got to make sure I drink it. And I believe and practice what you preach and be there. I recently posted something about this idea that we're constantly, and we're talking about this, we care about our guests, and let's touch them at every point, and let's ask them how they are, and during stay and post stay and pre-stay and all of that. But the person who has to take care of all of these guests, what about them? Like, who's asking them, how are you feeling today? What's happening in your world today? How is your work week? How about we send our employees a survey every week that says, how was your work week this week? What could we have done better? How could we encourage you and empower you to serve the guests better? And by the way, I will never give Marriott any credit ever except for this one time. Marriott originally said, take care of your people who will take care of your guests who will take care of you. It was people first. They didn't say take care of your guests first. Because if you don't take care of your people, they can't take care of your guests. But we've completely ignored and forgotten that part because our focus is on, we are not in the customer service business. We are in the employee service business. They are our most important customer. And we expect them to do all these things, but they're humans too. They've been broken up with, they've lost a loved one, they've having trouble, whatever is going on. Actually, I also in this piece wrote about this. I do guest lecturing at Boston University School of Hospitality Administration, and this one student, Johar is his name. He wanted to do his startup was a system like you go into the bathroom in an airport and there's a green face and a yellow face and a red face, and literally you just press the button. He created the system that, Adam, when you punch the clock that day, literally that's the only question we ask you. Back to Jason or Mandy, nobody fills out surveys, and I agree. But someone, as they punch the clock, they're going to click red. No context, nothing, just red. So if I'm your manager, Adam, and you pick red 3 days in a row, it is incumbent upon me to come to you and say, Adam, what's going on, buddy? Let's talk. Let's go have a cup of coffee. Think about the value that creates in terms of building culture for you and saying, oh my God, my company actually gives a shit about me versus, oh, let's focus about the guest. Adam, I don't care that your dog died and your girlfriend left you and you're broke. You better put on a great face and come service the customer. That's just unrealistic now. Back in the day, by the way, for the boomers generation and maybe Gen X, it was expected, suck it up, come to work, we're paying you, you better put on the face.
Yep.
In these earlier points, Gen Z, well, they'll be like, screw you and your job. I'll go get another job if you don't care about it.
Yeah, all about.
True.
Is it just too cumbersome to, like you said, empower our staff to deliver hospitality? Is it just too cumbersome these days because of generational attitudes, because of 16 different systems that they got to use, because it's hard to communicate what standards are, what the culture should be? What's your experience,
Mandy?
Yeah, I mean, is it too hard? I think, our teams, our employees at these hotels, there's a lot happening, right? There's, like you said, there's 16 different systems. Not everything speaks to each other. There's something going on. They feel like, a manager at some level is on them for something. They're having a bad day. Like, look, we all have stuff going on a daily basis. And so is it too hard? I think to go back to a little bit about what Bashar's saying, like, we just need to be able to say, hi, how are you, to our employees. And guess what? All those little things, I promise you, are gonna change. I got a text yesterday from somebody at a hotel. Just to let you know, my father had surgery. Is it okay if I leave a couple hours early today? I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And of course, it's meeting them where they're at. Absolutely. What do you need? How can I help? How can we support? This person's on site. Do you want me to send them over? Like, the more we care, the less cumbersome it's going to be. Because look, at the end of the day, there's going to be a mistake. It's going to happen somewhere. We're not always perfect. Not every employee is perfect. And I think we have to
speak for yourself, lady.
Well, I'm sorry. I was going to give you like a really great compliment, but now it's not.
Damn it.
It's gone. It's gone. His ego does not need to get any bigger, so I won't. No, I will say this. I've seen a photo, Bashar, of, I think it's your hotel in Bentonville, where you have writing on the wall for your staff and for employees. And I'll let you speak to what that quote says, because I will not do it justice. But that speaks to how we treat our employees and our staff to lessen their load, right? Like, we do care. And I know that it's not just words, because we talk about these posters on the wall and this culture and how we are, but it's really about, we truly have to care. And it starts with our employees first. So Bashar, I want you to share your quote, because I couldn't remember the exact quote.
I will. And Jason, I'll just answer your question. Is it too hard? Of course it's too hard, but that's the business we're in. Like, if this is too hard, go, by the way, a great business to be in is self-storage, because we Americans are crazy about our shit, and we will pay you 10x what it's worth to store it and then throw it away. So this business is hard, but if you choose to be in it, that is your choice, and you've got to sort of play by the rules. You can't walk onto a football field and expect to play basketball, right? Like, this is the game. That's what you're going to play. So a little bit of bragging. I have this, what I call a one-night stand relationship with hotels. When I travel anywhere for 3 nights, I move 3 times, never the same hotel twice, to sort of learn and watch what's happening in real time. So in Manhattan alone, I've stayed at, I don't know, 290 hotels. And people say, well, what do you remember? What stands out? And what I say is the following. I say, I only remember when someone, always a person, goes out of their way and genuinely, gives a shit. So back to, is it hard and systems don't talking? Those are all excuses. By the way, not every guest problem can be solved. In fact, many cannot be solved, because guests are unreasonable and crazy. Most of them are. But if you pretend enough to convince me, and I'm saying pretend intentionally, if you pretend enough to convince me that you care about my problem, you've won already. You don't have to fix it. You've won. And I cannot tell you how rare that is and how it never happens. So again, we talk about systems and we talk about processes and shit breaks and systems don't talk. I got it, which is a whole other issue with our tech stack in the hotel world, it's a disaster. Getting better, but a disaster. But nonetheless, what we're solving for is that bare minimum of teaching our people to genuinely care. And I said pretend, I'll leave that aside for a minute, to genuinely care when something goes wrong and own it. And never take anything personally. Like, people are upset, right? Like, people get emotional. And again, by the way, I have major road rage, and I always get yelled at. Like, this guy who's just cut you off may be literally so distraught because he's flying home to take care of his ailing wife or kid or mother or whatever. I personally don't care. Don't cut me off, damn it. Or driving slow in the left lane or whatever. But we kind of have to think about it that way in terms of guests. Like, someone comes up, they could be the biggest jerk on the planet. You just never know, and you never take it personally. It's not about you. So I think fundamentally creating a culture that celebrates this idea of genuine care. And by the way, hospitality 101, like, what are we talking about here? So the answer is no, it's not hard, because I am not solving the systems issue or the problems or any of that. I'm solving that. Jason, I'm so sorry. I really am sorry that you went through this. Let me see what I can do about it. And I'll circle right back with you. And by the way, you better circle back with me and tell me. I can't be fixed. Here's what I'm going to do for you. I use this example. I take a red eye to Europe. I land. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Your room is not ready. It's the easiest thing anyone can say. It's by the rules. They told me when check-in time is. I know I should not be disappointed. Well, there's one way to say, I'm sorry, check-in time is at 4 or whatever it is, right? Or you could say, Jason, oh man, I know, I could tell you probably are off the red eye. No offense. I could see the pillow marks on your face. Tell you what, the room is not ready, but we have a spa. Please don't tell anyone this. I'll get fired if you tell them, even though that may not be true. I'm going to take credit for it. We have a spa downstairs. It's not open yet. There's a locker room. Go down there, take a break, take a shower, get ready. I'll store your bags. I'll do my best to think about how that completely changes that conversation. It costs you nothing. And by the way, I'm not going to go to the spa. I'm not going to take a shower. I'm going to go on my day and come back to check in at my room during the check-in time. But the saying no versus saying, let me work with you, that's the idea of being genuine and caring for someone. So what Mandy was talking about is often I do this, and again, not words on, and I do it intentionally because I want the guests to see it. So I do it in guest area, either on an outdoor entrance to the hotel for employees that says something to the effect that through these doors walk the most amazing humans, blah, 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 blah. They're here for you, but they matter also. And kind of this idea of recognizing your employees and really celebrating them is what's going to, I will not belong to your cult unless you tell me that you convince me that you care for me, right? But if I'm just a statistic in your cult and I don't matter, then I'm not subscribing to that cult. I'm going to go to the cult that celebrates me and accepts me and welcomes me in. And by the way, a lot of this, again, we'll take the negative part of it. A lot of it, they say, is brainwashing. They make you believe that this is it. This is, you've arrived. These are your people. You're going to thrive here. You're going to be your best self. And again, just to shed the notion of the negative cult, I think Apple is a cult. Brands are a cult. I subscribe to the Apple cult. If Apple tomorrow made toilet paper and charged $50 a roll, I'll buy it. They better deliver. They better live to the expectations of what that means. But I subscribe to that cult, to that tribe, to that brand. And I just don't think we think about ourselves in those terms. We think our employees are transactions. They come and they go. And we think our guests are transactions. We talk about loyalty. There's no loyalty. It's bribery. The loyalty systems that exist out there today are bribery systems. They're not loyalty. Loyalty is me choosing you for you, not paying me anything to choose you. You give me points, I come to you. That's bribery. If you don't give me the points anymore, am I still coming to you? If the answer is yes, that's loyalty.
Oh, I love all of that, because when we think about that in conjunction with, I think our industry is truly sacrificing our ability to deliver on these human elements in the sake of, or in the name of, efficiency, right? And I loved, Bashar, how you called out, oftentimes when we use the word efficiency, we're talking about cutting. And why aren't we talking ever efficiency is additive, right? Like we're going to create a better experience. We're going to create a more efficient experience.
Let me pause you right there for 1 second. And this is perfect. And this is the example I use. I want to use technology to remove friction.
Yes.
When I check in, why are you asking me for my address? What are you going to do with my address? Are you going to send me a gift? I'll be happy to give you my address. Like, why the fuck do you need my address? Number one. Why am I swiping? And the idea is take care of all, use technology to remove that. So now when I come, you're like, hey, what brings you to town? Oh, I see you have kids with you. Have you heard about this? Oh, it's your anniversary. Let me send you here. Like that to me removes the friction and allows less employees because if you remove the frictions, you don't need as many employees anymore, right?
Mhm.
Less employees to do a better job, because now you
Yep.
can hire better, arguably. But we
Yes.
continue with all the efficiency we have. I mean, try to order something, try to use an iPad to do anything in a room, or try to we're not there yet because we've overcomplicated it. Yet at every turn, but by the way, like the whole check in the US, we're finally catching up to what Europe used to do 20 years ago, bringing the machine to the table and tap and done. We're finally catching up, not everywhere. But those are the things that I talk about, where remove the friction, remove the transactional part of it, allowing me to use the same or even less people to provide the idea of interaction, not transaction, like you said, Adam.
Oh, it's like I was telling somebody, gosh, who was I talking about? It was like, look, we need the machines to do the machine jobs. We need the humans to do the human jobs. A human is the only one that can connect with you. Again, if you walk in and you're blind and deaf, a machine's not going to make you feel welcome and loved, but a person is, right? Let the machines get better at being machines, right? Helping us get those processes, those things, make those experiences more efficient. Great, so that humans can show up, right? And we can be human.
But even purely technologically speaking, I will not use an OTA to book your hotel because I like you better.
Yep.
So I'll find you on the OTA. I'll go to your website direct, and of course, on step number 74, I'm in the zip code field again. Why the hell do you need my zip code? And you're now making me change my keyboard from alpha to numerical on my phone. You know what? Bye. I'm out.
Yeah.
And again, we talk about technology and efficiency, but we're not. You'd be shocked. By the way, any hoteliers listening today, do yourself a favor. Go make a reservations in your own hotel blindly. Go through the process. Look at the emails you get. Look, like they talk about it, but they never actually do it. And it's the first impression a guest sees you through. So don't get mad at me if I go to Expedia because I click 3 buttons and I'm booked. On your website, it is a act of Congress. Like I need to spend an hour booking the damn reservation. Forget about it.
It's so true.
We talk about it, but we don't practice what we preach. If you have not yourself or made all your management team do exactly what I'm saying and stay in the hotel and order room service and push the buttons and do all that, you should not be in this business. Because
and then if you do it and you don't actually follow through with something, you should not be in this business. So
thank you.
We expect our guests to be the lab rats, the guinea pigs that we want to try on. Shame on you. Shame on you.
Yeah, we should go through all the processes and all the steps. And Bashar, we need the zip code because if not, my credit card fees are going to go skyrocketing through the roof.
Okay, and by the way, okay, touche. Wait. I got you. What's the value of guest convenience to you? And could you take that credit if you make it so convenient for me? Remember, we're all solving for a value proposition. If my experience with you is seamless, if you charge me $3 more in ADR, am I going to care? The answer is no, I'm not going to care. And if I choose you and you're slightly more expensive than your competitor, but my experience with you is exponentially better, within reason, obviously, happily I'll pay you for it. I mean, by the way, there's a big push now, particularly in upper upscale and luxury, about this nickel and diming business. Don't charge me for the goddamn water. Just build it in the rate. Like enough already.
Just give me a while, please.
If you're asking me to do extra work to save money, shame on you. You're not doing it right. Build it in the price and show me the value proposition and tout and brag about that. With my competitor, it takes you 64 seconds to book our reservations. With me, it takes you 23. Because you said it. I'm going to throw your words back in your face. Time.
I know. Time
is the utmost luxury. I know. Absolutely.
Yes. Agreed.
Well, generally speaking, this whole conversation primarily has centered around driving efficiency through caring about employees.
Yeah.
I don't know about driving efficiency through caring about employees. I think if I were to sum up what I said, at least, is I would say use technology to remove friction for guests and employees. By the way, let's go back to the schedule thing. And again, I'm not too close to the ground and don't know how it happens. But like I remember, if I wanted to switch my shift because something came up, again, it was like a massive production. Why aren't we using technology today to sort of, and I'm sure they exist, but not many use them, to allow employees to have the flexibility to switch their shifts and do whatever they need to do using technology. That to me removes friction. Just like we're talking about the zip code for guests, talking about scheduling and shift changes for employees, that removes the friction. So to me, efficiency is about removing friction. After the pandemic, and Jason, this goes back to the post-pandemic, we used efficiency in the name of contagion, being contagion, to remove humans. We're like, look, you don't even have to deal with one person here. You don't even need your mask on. You check in on your phone, you go to the kiosk, you do your thing. And I think there was a moment in time for that, and that has passed now. So using technology to remove humans is a big mistake. And I used the airline example and I've done this before. And by the way, everything we're talking, again, we're making generalizations. There are people who don't want to deal with a single person. There are times where, listen, I'm staying at a Hilton. I don't need to deal with anyone. I use my app, I check in, I open my door, I leave, I'm done, I'm happy. You should give me that option, but don't make that my only option. Give me the opportunity to do it differently if I choose to. So, Jason, back to your question, use technology to remove friction and create better efficiency for all involved, to then allow us, with the time that we have left, with the resources we have left, to engage in the interaction, having removed the transaction. That's what I'm saying.
I also want to chime in and add, sometimes the most efficient process isn't also the most profitable choice as well. I mean, we think, okay, it's great. Look, we've had the opportunity to work with hotels in Las Vegas, and they were like, oh, look, our kiosk system is the wave of the future. Like, we're just going to have these kiosks. And then they ripped half of them out because they realized, wow, our front desk is way more profitable than these systems. It might not be as efficient as we might say, but the guests chose to come here. They chose to wait in the line. They saw the two lines and they said, I want to talk to a person. And it became like 10x more profitable than the machines. That was like, hey, we should actually reduce these machines to invest heavier in this side, because it's less efficient, but it's way more profitable. So I think that there's also that element of saying, what the technology needs to remove the friction, and the friction both comes from saying, okay, what does the guest want? What is actually desired here? And what's the best for the employee as well? Remove the friction, remove the challenges, and you create a better, more seamless process, or better process, maybe is the better word.
We need to have emotional intelligence, right? So remove the friction, but we need emotional intelligence. And I think as humans, we're all craving connection. We're all craving that conversation wherever that is for us. And so I think in a hotel particularly, having a human to connect with when you want it, it's vital to their experience.
I mean, look, I talk about a commodity, right? When I buy gas for my car, I could care less about your logo. I could care less about your tagline. I could care less about any of that stuff. I care about two things: price and location. Hotels, at the end of the day, are a commodity, a bed and a shower. And if that's what we're selling, a commodity, we are dead. Because now everybody plays the race to the bottom, and it's a game of pricing, and it becomes sort of soulless commodity. We don't treat food that way. I don't go out to a restaurant because I need food to survive. I need sustenance. I go out to a restaurant for the experience. I don't go out to a coffee shop just because I need caffeine because it's a drug and I'm addicted. I go out for experience. I can press a button at home and get my caffeine. If hotels view their offering as a commodity, we are dead. We're not a commodity. And the only way to not make us a commodity is humans, because otherwise that Hilton room or Marriott room or whatever room I described is a commodity. I'm in this town. I'm meeting with Adam. I need a bed and a shower. I don't care what it is. It's price and location. And the brand usually in that example eliminates the need for me to do any work, because I kind of know a Hilton is a Hilton, right? Versus choosing an experience. I don't know anyone, by the way, a road warrior, elevator salesman who makes 60 grand a year, who probably stays at Hilton Garden Inns every time. That person is not looking for a beige, boring experience. They'll never admit that. Now, there's different levels of what they're looking for based on budget, etc. But no one says I'm going to a hotel just because I have to. There's always something more out of it. And the more out of it isn't things, isn't marble, isn't art. It really is people. And not just the employees, but other people. Post-pandemic, I love this quote that goes, we all want to be together alone. Adam, I'm in my room, in my commodity room, and I'm doing work. I don't want to be in my room alone doing work. Now that Wi-Fi has freed me, right? Back in the day, I had to plug in. It was hard to move. Now I can move. I'll go sit in the lobby next to you, never say a word to you for the entire duration, but there's warmth in being with other humans. We are tribal animals. We need each other. We belong in tribes. That's what our DNA is. We're not loner animals. We need to be together. So I think, again, this idea of creating a place that gives you that ability to join your tribe, to join your cult, where there's a sense of culture and community, whatever the fuck that means these days, is so much better than a commodity, because a commodity is exclusively price driven. By definition, a commodity is price driven. Whether it's, they talk about wheat and they talk about gas and they talk about oil, these are all commodities. Hotels cannot become commodities. We are dead if they're commodities.
Are we acting too much like commodities at certain, like you mentioned, Hilton Garden, is a certain level of a service level of a hotel, are they too commoditized? Have they ripped out the human touch because of kiosks and whatever else? It kind of feels that way to me, because that's kind of where I operate. Like when I travel, unless I travel with Adam.
You want commodity?
No, I don't really.
You don't want commodity.
Back to the point you were trying to make is a reasonably priced hotel for a one-night stay in Corpus Christi, Texas, because my in-laws are down there. It's not like I'm not down there having an experience. But
let's be clear. It's not about experience. I'm not suggesting that you're going to go and do their wine tasting and do all of that. I took it more Darwinian for you. I get back to self-storage. I don't need anyone at self-storage. I know my unit number. There's a lock on it. I go to it. I unlock it. I open it. I go. I do my business. If that's what hotels become, that's okay if that's what you want. But I challenge you that even in your example, as you're walking in the lobby, it's a more pleasant experience for you to walk through the lobby, not talk to anyone, but have someone standing there say, "Good evening, welcome." It's somewhat subconscious and somewhat, again, built into our DNA, because there's sort of safety knowing that you're part of the tribe, not alone in some storage unit by yourself, right? So I think that's the nuance I'm talking about. And that's why I think for airlines it works, because they have you there. There are flight. By the way, think about a short flight where there's no service, right? You still have someone walking up and down the aisles, sure, for safety, but they're sort of smiling and nodding and doing the thing. They're connecting with you. And this is very Darwinian and psychological. It's not about doing anything for you. It's not about serving you a drink or serving you coffee. It's about, there's a hotel in Cabo, one and only Palmilla. And everyone you come across, landscapers, housekeepers, whatever, anyone and everyone, whether you're a guest or not, they will stop in their tracks and put their hand on their heart. It doesn't mean anything. They don't say anything, language barrier. But that simple act to me makes that offering, again, one and only, I know, luxury, blah, 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 ignore all that for a minute. That simple act to me is that warm and fuzzy that machines, until we teach them emotional intelligence, cannot do. And that's what I'm talking about experience. I'm not talking about go do goat yoga on the roof in Corpus Christi while you're visiting your in-laws. But I still believe infusing a human element within that offering makes it feel less than a commodity.
It's interesting. In my career, I grew up, like to say, right, like the early parts of my career was working with Four Seasons, and so I had the opportunity to travel with them and stay. We had a joke in our family that the only hotels we could afford to stay at were Four Seasons, because we had comp nights, right? They were free for us, and because of that, my kids growing up, I have 4 kids. They were exposed to a lot of different hotels and a lot of different hotel types, and a couple weeks ago, we were going on a little fishing trip, and we were staying the night at a Hilton Garden Inn. And my kid walked in and he goes, "So what kind of is this a nice hotel? Like, what's the point of this hotel? How do these hotels get business? Like, who wants to stay here?" And he asked that question, like, who wants to stay here? And I said, well, it's mostly for people that just need a place that they can rely on that's going to be good and clean. And is it a good hotel? It's not one that you're going to rave about, but it's not a bad hotel by any means. And it was interesting to hear him ask the question, at 14, saying, okay, but who chooses this hotel over someone that's, just a regular hotel? Like, what makes this hotel why you want to stay here? And it was like, it was all points. That's why. But sure. The answer, I think, comes back to this question of, like, why do we want to be here? What is this? And I think that's interesting, that it was a nice wake-up call for me as a reminder of, wait a minute, there is this question of, why do I want to be here?
But look, people talk about service and belonging like they belong only to luxury. And I use this analogy. You and your wife are checking in at a Days Inn, and you happen to have your 4-year-old daughter with you there. And as you're checking in, the person checking you in overhears that it's your daughter's birthday. You go to your room, you go to your own business, and that person, Mandy, who checked you in, takes $1 out of her own pocket, goes to the vending machine, buys a bag of M&Ms, and takes a sticky note that says "Happy Birthday" on it, and has it delivered to your room. That's as simple as it is what we're talking about here. We're talking about, look, I talk about Maslow's hierarchy of need. If you're familiar with that scientist who says we humans have physiological needs at the very bottom.
Yes.
Food, water, oxygen, shelter is one of the very basic needs. Hotels are in the shelter business. We are at the very bottom. But if that's the business we're in, that's a commodity. Oxygen is a commodity. Like, I don't need to enjoy my oxygen. I need my oxygen. I need my shelter. But if Mandy buys your daughter the M&M at the Days Inn, that's now at the very top of the pyramid, which is transcendence and self-actualization. And what that means is I matter. They see me. I'm somebody. So when you're staying at the Hilton Garden Inn and someone goes out of their way to make you feel special, whatever that means, it could be a good morning, it could be a, hey, the breakfast just closed, but here's a whatever. It's that simple. That's what you will explain to your kid by saying, that's why I come here all the time, because they genuinely give a shit about me.
100%.
Mandy, what's your experience in the independent world? Is it similar?
Similar in the fact of how we treat our guests.
Having employees present to do some of these things that we've been kicking around. Are they removing employees, or are they trying to reduce the number, or are they?
Look, I think that's a loaded question, right? Across the board, of course, people are trying to reduce staff and revenue, and we need to cut this much this month, and we're over budget, we're under budget, and so there's always this conversation. So yes, but no, right? I see a resurgence right now of hoteliers and independent hotels saying we need to take care of the guest, and the guest experience is the most vital experience that we have within the walls of our hotel, right? So I might have like a bad pillow, but how can I make it up, right? So I think that we are genuinely trying to give a shit again. I think we all understand in this industry that service has not been to the level that we wanted. We've all traveled. We've all been there. We all walk in and say, why would I stay at this hotel? What is this? And so I think we are coming back to this place of we've got to work. We've got to connect. We've got to provide an experience, and we've got to provide an experience that's for the guest and for the people that we work with. And that's where I think we are.
But Mandy, in your case, though, you have tiny hotels that don't have the staff, like not fully staffed. And I have a couple of those 24 hours a day. So what happens at night in those places? How do you deal with those moments? Because I always say, by the way, I'm as good as my worst employee. If I check in at 2:00 in the morning and the guy who checks you in or person who checks you in doesn't do a good job, it's a direct reflection on me. So how do you, Mandy, deal with those, the after hours and the small places that can? And look, let's be realistic. And I'll shut up and let you talk. You knew you weren't going to get a word in with me.
I'm never going to get in a word.
Okay, got it. But just for context, for those who don't know, the hotel industry in North America in 2025 had an increase of roughly 3 to 4%, way below inflation. And on average, our costs went up double digits on average. Like my health insurance went up 13%. So this isn't we're eliminating people because, again, we are capitalist pigs and we want to get fat and rich. It's literally a matter of survival. The model is upside down and it doesn't work. So these small hotels that Mandy deals with, often some of the tiny ones, they can't have it. It's impossible. They'll be out of business. What's the point of being out of business? So Mandy, how do you deal with those in the after hours and this lack of staff work because you simply can't have it?
Well, I mean, it's a very valid question.
I asked it. Of course it's valid.
Yeah, of course. So how do we deal with it? So there's several things. Like we do rely on technology. So that's part of the piece. We rely on technology, but we also make phone calls during the day. We make phone calls to everybody checking in that we have not heard from. So typically in a checkout process on the website, we ask what time they're going to be arriving. We have a pre-arrival communication with them. So we have an idea generally of when they're coming in. If we have not heard from them by a certain time in the day, we are calling and saying, what time will you be in? Some places provide a lockbox experience. Some places we still have a night auditor and we still do training, and some we have on-site, like an on-site innkeeper per se for that kind of fact for those things. But we are better at communication probably than a larger hotel because we have to be. And so our communication is everything from whether it's a call, again, text because of technology. But I would say, Bashar, we're probably better at communication than a lot of the large hotels.
Because you have to, and
We have to.
And Jason, here's a great question where they use technology in an accretive way, in an additive way. Because look, don't call me. Like some want to be called, give them that option, but most don't. So this texting ability now and engaging with people on WhatsApp and kind of meeting them where they are is the perfect example of using technology to be additive rather than not communicating with the guests. Let them come in, have all kinds of problems. There's no one on site. Now technology enables you to do that. So that's a really great example. And again, those hotels, they can't hire anyone. It's impossible. They'll all be calling me right now and saying, okay, hotshot, here's my P&L. Tell me how to fix it. And I'd say, you can't fix it. You can't hire people. It's impossible.
Yeah. Well, we're coming up on the top of the hour, Adam. What have we not asked?
We covered question 1. Great.
Yeah. Good. Done. And I want to bring up one more point. You're back to, little full circle here with Bashar, is that a lot of the things that we're talking through as far as the human touch and the element and things like this, they're not additive in cost most of the time. I mean, if we sit there and we say, okay, how much more money does it cost to call the guest for the employee that's already standing at the desk? Like, no, but the fact that there was a purposeful decision, we're going to call the guest. This is what we're going to do, right? How do we move that forward? How do we move our culture forward? We can after we define it, after we say this is what we're going to do. Why does Nordstrom come around the desk? Well, is it more efficient or less efficient? Whatever. But it has an impact, right? And I think sometimes when we want to talk about efficiencies, I think your team is more efficient because they're making those phone calls, because they're doing that extra work.
Because you're anticipating and eliminating headaches and eliminating angry people and eliminating.
Exactly.
But you talk about sort of going around the desk. I'll use another example. I'm in Portland, Oregon. There's a tire company here called Les Schwab. They do tires, like the most commodity of all commodities. Their shtick is, as when you drive up, when they see a car pulling up, someone will run, not walk, run from inside the store to your driver door and say, "Hey, welcome. What are you here for? Okay, park here. Do this, do that." They're far more expensive than your commodity Walmart, Costco. Far more expensive, and they crush it. So again, we all want to be somebody. We all want to be seen. And you running to my car tells me you're seeing me. You walking around the counter to hand me your thing tell me you're engaging with me on that sort of human level. Doesn't cost any more money. It may cost efficiency, but I just finished telling you, use technology to remove friction so then you can walk around the desk and it's not additive anymore. And there's also the notion airlines, by the way. I don't know that they've done it because they're generally mostly schmucks. They had 30 at the desk. Well, now you need 2. How about you overhire with those 2? Make sure they're all manager level people and pay them accordingly, because you still saved a ton of money. Like there's also that nuance where in Vegas, if you don't need 30 at the desk anymore, make sure the ones you hire, overpay them and get the best quality talent, because now you can afford it and you're still saving money.
Agree 100%. Amen to that.
We're going to make Vegas great again, people.
Let's do it. Oh, can you imagine? Like, it's such a difference, such a different operation. Jason, what did we miss?
Well, we got to question 1.
I'm here on Thursdays. Tip your waitress. Try the veal.
Yeah. No, I can't thank both of you for joining us enough, because really what it comes down to is this is the reality of our operation. These are the real. This is what we're really dealing with in our industry. Is how do we create these amazing experiences for our guests? How do we maximize our efficiencies? How do we manage a P&L and not lose sight of what the whole purpose of all of this is, right? And right. If the goal simply is to make money, okay, great.
Self-storage.
That's what you should be into. But if your goal is to create a really great experience and you create profitable businesses by creating these meaningful experiences for your guests and for your employees, right? Making sure that it's truly intentional. I think it's the key that I'm really walking away with today, is saying the more intentional I can be on what I want to deliver will help me understand where do I make those investments, and how do I make sure I'm making the right investments, whether that be in technology or in people, and what the balance of that should
And
be.
it can't be one or the other. Like you have
Has
to
to
make
be
the
both.
investment in both.
Yes.
And technology has and is moving, obviously, in the AI era now. It's going to move so much faster. You'd be foolish to not utilize technology, but do it for the right reasons. Again, remove friction. Instagram, I say the word skis shows up. I press 2 buttons. They're at my door 2 days later.
Yes, please.
We are dinosaurs by comparison. Dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Yes.
We are.
Yep.
We'll get there.
Yep. Well, thank you both for joining us. It was a treat. And until next time.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.